going to start up with stories again. Again, we want to reiterate different ways you can share your story. You can come up to this mic and share your story, your experience of racism on the East Side, and microaggressions, or anything that you want to say. Open to people of color and non-people of color to share. You can use the QR code right there next to my brother Gaia. He's pointing out that. And you can write down a story, and we can share that story for you and submit it through there. Another way that you can share your story is through this table over here. You can write it down, and they are recording stories and posting that on Instagram. You can put your name, you can do that anonymously, whatever feels comfortable for you. But again, stories are not open. So go ahead and come and share your story.
Hey guys, so I'm going to share a story that I actually submitted to the Eastside chain collision, but okay, I was walking to Sammamish with my older cousin, and the sun was setting. There were a few cars on the road, and it was about to rain, so we put our hoods on and we started running. We were supposed to meet our friends and our family down at the parking lot, so we needed to get there pretty quickly, and we saw a police car pass us. And then it turned down into the next neighborhood. And moments later, we saw it come out and drive back up the road it came from. We thought nothing of it until it came down the same road on our side, and it was driving a lot slower than the speed limit. It was actually following us. We were driving pretty slow, so we could tell, they were following us. And it kept doing this, kept turning into neighborhoods and following us down the same road for a while. We knew it was the same car because we checked the license plate. So eventually we got fed up and we were a little confused, so we turned into this neighborhood and we sat on the sidewalk, and sure enough the police car followed us to the neighborhood. It parked on the side of the road, and he came out of his car and he approached us shining a flashlight in our faces. He was asking us if we lived in this neighborhood and why we were out so late. Meanwhile, we were trying to ask him why he was following us on the side of the road. He wouldn't answer our questions, and it started to escalate. So my cousin grabbed me by the wrist and he pulled me behind him. The police officer realized what was happening and he calmed down, and he told my cousin that they got a call saying that there was a suspicious man walking around looking in people's windows. He said word for word, and I wrote it down, "Sir, you had your hood up and from behind you fit the description." Not that it should matter, but my cousin is a black male, 6'6" athlete, and was wearing a black hoodie and gray sweatpants. Tell me, how did he fit the description? First of all, it shouldn't matter what he looked like. Second of all, it was dark and he was wearing a hoodie, and he said he fit the description from behind. That makes absolutely no sense. And I just want to bring attention that this happened in Sammamish, like a few miles away from here. It happened right here, right now in the Eastside, and all of you need to know this, so Black Lives Matter, thank you. Woo!
You left me hanging before, so I just was sitting here like this, and everyone was looking at me, and it was really awkward, so. Also, I said
I'll go ahead and share some more from the QR code. I was cycling to get some groceries. I do this every weekend, and a pickup truck passed me and yelled out "nigger." Like I didn't really. Oh, sorry. Did I already say this one? Yeah, that's my bad. Okay. Okay. I was a straight A student involved in many activities around the school and community. One random day, I was accused of threatening to come and bomb the school. by some random kid because my skin color was brown. I was pulled out of class 2 minutes before the end of day, when this allegation had come 5 hours before. The school principal and vice principal pressured me, saying that I should just say that I did something when I did not. They held me for about 2 hours, and they took me to a room with a police officer, and he started to question me like I actually committed a crime. After this, they did call my parents and tell them what had happened. They didn't call my parents and tell them what had happened. If I hadn't stuck out my story, that I did nothing wrong, the consequences would have been completely different. But after, they looked at me more closely, and I gave eyewitnesses who were around me at the time. The school realized it was not true, and said that the kid who was that the kid who was white. It was the only thought I had. I had said it, and kept changing the story even more after that. All businesses were told to close in Kirkland the day of the first protest. While leaving work, I had a gun pointed at me, and he said to me, "Leave our city alone." I lived here, and I served this city my whole life.
Is your water? We have some waterfall nature.
Very awkward.
People don't call it waterfall. It's more like in Philadelphia they call it like Spitfire or something. I feel like we should entertain
Hello again. I know I already spoke, but this was just something on my heart. Listening to all these stories, having all these beautiful people share at our event today. And I wanted to just address the people who are not part of this event, who are not listening and going about their everyday lives. I saw a lot of people like you marching with us the first few weeks after the passing of George Floyd. It lasted for a week or two, and then it just stopped. And now it seems like it's just us. I just want all of you who are going about your regular lives today to know that it's not a trend. Activism is not a trend. Black lives are not a trend. Because to us, it's an everyday reality.
Yeah! Period!
For you guys, it might have been a week of doing the right thing, but for us, it's going about everyday life. Everyday life not knowing what's going to happen. Everyday life of your dad setting a curfew for you because he doesn't know if you're going to make it home okay. Every day of me worrying, every night my dad goes out to the grocery store because we don't know what that could end up like in today's America. It's about me caring about my friends, my family. It's about me caring about our city. It's about me caring about everybody out here. But you guys need to care too, because we can't win this fight if you aren't with us. We can fight for the liberation of our people, but we need you to address your brothers and sisters and acknowledge that you benefit from the system. We need you to acknowledge that you are living in privilege, and we need you to acknowledge the wrongdoings of your ancestors against my people, against our people. It's not a trend. It should never be a trend, because for us it's an everyday reality. Think about that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Woo!
Going off of what Liam just said and also what his dad said, there's this thing called the Everyday March that happens in Seattle, and it's been happening for over like the past month. And they have a morning march and a night march led by some amazing people, amazing black women who go every single night, 2 times a day. And if you're interested in that, there's Instagrams that you can follow. It's everyday morning march Seattle, something like that. And then also the evening march Seattle, something is along those lines, and I can search it up too. But basically, it's
the fact that when the protests are quote unquote peaceful, because protests are on a spectrum, anything that's against the status quo is not by definition peaceful. And so really a lot of non-black people like to spin the narrative of that and say, oh, if they're protesting peacefully, then that's like how you're gonna make change. Well, by definition, a protest isn't peaceful. And so, like Liam said, especially this next week, it's so important to keep putting pressure because a lot of council meetings are happening this week. On Wednesday, it's the budget meeting, which is when they're gonna vote on defunding SPD by 50%. And right now, 7 out of the 9 council members have committed to it, but that's just like their verbal commitment. And they could still pull out last minute. And right now, it's Alex Peterson and Deborah Flores who have yet to commit to defunding police. And so, showing up, so for the night marches, we go to these people's houses and we're just like outside of their house, like making noise, like annoying their neighbors. And it's so important to keep showing up, especially this week. So if you're interested, like please let me know. And it's like a small community, it's like not that many people, but they need the numbers. And something I noticed is that in Portland, I actually went down there yesterday, they have the numbers. They have thousands of people there by the Justice Center, but they don't have clear demands. We're so lucky to have like organizers here in Seattle that have been pushing the same demands since like 2 months ago. And if none of them have been met, like they said that they're gonna not build a new youth jail, but that's in 5 years. Like why can't it be now? Like that's the thing is like Seattle has the demands, we have the organizers, we have like what we want to change, but we don't have the numbers to keep putting pressure on them. And so it's so important, like what they said, to keep showing up every day, to keep causing disruption, to keep pressuring the council members and the government officials, especially people like Jenny Durkin. And that's like the difference. It's like in Portland, they have the numbers, but they don't have the clear demand. So nothing's really changing, but it's good that they're disrupting the status quo and exposing like how effed up our government is and the abuse of brutality, especially with the feds. So yeah, just going off what they said, keep putting pressure, especially this week when the budget meeting is happening on Wednesday. And also, you don't have to be living in Seattle to sign up for a public comment. It opens up 2 hours before the meeting, and that's also really important, is using our voice to put pressure on the council members like as they have the meeting. You can submit, if you just search up like Seattle City Council public meeting, it'll take you to the place where you sign up, and it opens up like 2 hours before the meeting. If anyone, you just basically, all you have to say is like why we should defund the police. It only has to be like a minute of talking. So if you have time on Wednesday, you should sign up for that.
I just wanted to say, going off of what was just said, if you go to our Instagram and go to our most recent post about upcoming protests, all the info about the morning marches and evening marches is also on there. But I wanted to share a story that happened to me at my school here in Kirkland. I go to a small private school, predominantly white, and I'm also in the theater program there. When I was in 8th grade, the high school did a play called The Foreigner. And basically the whole premise was they're living in America and there is this one foreigner and the community members there want to kick them out. And you know, that already sounds a little bit sketchy, like why are you doing that as a high school play? But near the end of the play, I was watching it, and basically the students, my fellow students that I look up to, have been in multiple plays and musicals with them. They came out in KKK sheets, hoods, the gown, everything, and guns in hand. And as you can imagine, being I think the only Black, maybe even the only person of color in the audience there, I was extremely shaken up by that. I had to leave the theater. And what I really took from that was, it's always going to have to be me to be the one to speak up about something not right in the community. This play had been practicing for months on end. They had been wearing those sheets, and they felt comfortable enough to wear that on stage when they knew at least me, someone who I consider to be their good friend, was going to be in that audience. And it takes me back because they said, when I asked what roles they got, they said, oh, I'm just a bad character. If you're not comfortable saying what role you have in the play, something should be wrong there, right? You should have said something at that point. So being an ally is not just showing up to marches. It's when you see something uncomfortable, you actually say something. You actually stick up for the people of color in your community before they have to see it, before they have to go through that experience. Thank you.
I actually don't have a story to share, but I just really wanted to tell you guys, being at my age, seeing all of you young people out here really working for something so meaningful and so influential, so wonderful, it's really, really encouraging to me. I remember Peter Marshall says, independence, I just got a code for my work for independence. Independence doesn't mean that you get to do what you want. Independence is to have the opportunity to do what's right. To see all of you young people out here to do what's right in this beautiful sunny day, when you can do anything but play or be with your friends. It's just really encouraging for an older person like me. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And going off of what Eliana said, if you're non-black and you are having these sort of discussions with your non-black peers and they're uncomfortable, obviously, understand the difference between giving up because there's like literally zero hope and it's like wasting your mental energy, and also just giving up when you are tired, because they have to deal with that every day. And so if you're giving up for your own comfort, then you're not an ally, okay? Because they have to deal with that shit every day. And after this movement and like people from my school starting to like give me hate, it's like just a sliver of what they have to deal with every day. And it's like, I have friends telling me, oh, just like stop talking to them, it's not worth your energy. And I'm like, if I have the ability to like try and educate these people, I'm gonna take it, because they're gonna continue to come after me and all these like non-white people. When if they try to say that shit to like other people, then they would be quiet. So they need to like unlearn what they've learned so far. And it's really like not the job of black people to educate non-black people at all. And if you have the ability to like talk to your racist family members, talk to your friends, your ignorant friends, like anyone in your life who just isn't really, because a lot of the excuse I hear of why people aren't speaking up is because they're not educated enough on the topic. Then educate yourself. There's so many resources on their Instagram page. There's so many resources to educate yourself. There's literally zero excuse. Ignorance is a choice in 2020 when we have this much access to technology, especially on the east side. Like, this is not assuming like if you don't have the resources, that's okay too. But like for my non-black people here that have the resources, like take it. Like you should be reading something new, learn, like listening to a podcast, something new, like every single day, especially coming from the experiences of black people, because that's what's important. Is like we should be uplifting their voices right now. Also, this is not my personal experience, but I live on Mercer Island, and there's a lot of stuff that happens there that gets slid over. So one time if you've ever heard of Nextdoor, it's sort of like a neighborhood Facebook. It's not the greatest platform for really anything to happen. I don't know why it exists. But one time there was an interracial couple walking like through neighborhoods, a black man and I don't know what the race of the woman was, not non-black. And then someone posted something saying that they thought they were Antifa and they were scouting out the neighborhoods just because they didn't say that, but it's obviously just because one of the guy was a black person. And also, personal experience, my friends and I woke up this was like back in May. We woke up super early to put up Black Lives Matter posters and resources all over the island at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and we already had like parents filming us saying that we were Antifa just because we were like sort of covered. And then also, literally 30 minutes after we had put stuff up, people had thrown away Black Lives Matter posters into the trash. They weren't even provocative signs. All it said was BLM. And so if that's like not enough evidence that racism exists like on the east side, it should be. And also, if you haven't heard, Bellevue School District, some kids in the Bellevue School District made an Instagram page that was white and straight at BSD. That shit is disgusting, okay? That should not be allowed or tolerated. That also shows the ignorance on the east side. There's people flying Confederate flags on Mercer Island. There's people putting up Blue Lives Matter signs in front of the Black Lives Matter sign purposefully, and a Trump sign purposefully in front of the Black Lives Matter sign. That is, while it's not them saying they're racist, it's racist. Like in the environment today, doing something like that is purposeful and it's racist. So just continue to call people out. Like it's so important, because a lot of people I talk to, like, they get defensive right away, and that's one of the issues, is that as a non-black person, we are literally raised to be racist in our education, in every system we're a part of. And so we're gonna make mistakes. That's okay. Like, no one's perfect. No one's gonna learn right away, like, and how to become a good ally in one day. Like, it's a marathon, not a sprint, like you've all heard before. We're gonna make mistakes. Like, we have to deal with that. We're gonna like say racist things on accident, and that's okay, because it's just how we learn from that and become better, and how we use those resources and what you learn as an ally to teach other people. Because it's our job. Like, we need help. This is like the minimum that we can do, is trying to educate other people who don't take the time themselves to. So yeah. Thank you.
I would also like to mention how before this whole movement started in 2020 or 2019, my school would have a lot of these discussions about race and politics, and we would go around specifically to individual tables asking, do you want to join? Do you want to discuss this? Everyone shook their heads saying, no thank you. And now that it was a trend, people are willing to post about it and post like Black Lives Matter. I've always supported it. We need to support this by bringing up the topics. And now that the kind of like trend has died down, they're posting pictures of like bikinis on boats and stuff. This is not a trend. This is everyone's lives. These are people who are struggling every day, and we need to realize that this isn't a phenomenon. These are people's lives at risk. Thank you.
I just wanted to say about something that like I've seen a lot is like the Confederate flag and Blue Lives Matter flags and things like that. I understand like some people don't understand why that's truly hurtful and racist. So like the Confederate flag is literally against black people. It was fighting for slavery, the enslavement of black people. So when you fly your Confederate flag and call yourself an American, a proud American, you really are being anti-American and anti-black at the same time. It is extremely racist and honestly disgusting. And if you don't know that by now, you're very ignorant and you should really use the resources. Also, there is no blue light. Nobody has blue skin and is just walking around. Okay? The uniform that police put on is something that they chose to do. They chose to have that job as a police officer. Black people didn't choose to be black. We didn't choose to be oppressed. We were taking this country by force. So your Blue Lives Matter flag doesn't stand up for anything. It is just being anti-black and anti-movement. It is extremely racist, and you're not fighting for anything but just proving your racism. So please stop.
I was like,
I just want to say something real quick. This ties back a little bit to our education. A big thing and a big step that we need to make in this movement is to decolonize our education. Like, a lot of the issues and a lot of the stories that are coming out that have been affecting black people is because we've been socialized and taught to act in that way. When we look at history books, it's all from the white perspective. When we read history about the origins of the United States, we talk about Christopher Columbus, we talk about how he discovered America and all these other things. We exclude the fact that he had a regime that committed mass murder on the native people. We don't talk about how North America was occupied by natives, and then they were all enslaved, murdered by either Christopher Columbus' regime or the disease that they brought. And so a big thing is to educate. And I know a lot of people have talked about this, but I just want to continue stressing it. And the thing that has happened also is that we've whitewashed our history. Even the civil rights movement has been whitewashed. People act as if Martin Luther King was a loved individual at the time, as if he was accepted in public media. He was not. He was labeled a terrorist by the American government. He was watched every step he took. Every action he made was documented, governed, and hated. Everybody did not like him. And so when people talk about now, about being afraid of the public opinion, about how the movement now, they need to be more peaceful, things like this, these are all rhetorics, these are all words, these are all language that was used against Martin Luther King to stop the civil rights movement. And we have to acknowledge that those things are happening now. We are in living history. We are creating our history. We are the next generation. Together we will change the world. And we can change the world. We just have to acknowledge what we need to do, and we gotta do it. We gotta really choose what side of history we wanna be on. Do we wanna be on the side of those fighting for justice, or do we wanna be on the side of the oppressors? 20 years from now, do you wanna tell your kids how during COVID you were chilling on your boats, jumping into lakes and stuff like that? Or do you wanna tell them about how you really fought for people's lives? You really tried to change the system. And I know for a fact, and I know exactly what story I want to tell my kids. And I hope y'all agree with me that you want to tell your kids the same thing.
I ain't having kids.
But it got to start now. And it got to start with education. Education of ourselves, education of each other, education of the youth. So that the next generation, the generation after that, not only doesn't have to face racism, but knows how to fight it and detect it wherever it is. Because that's the biggest thing, is that when there's not a physical being oppressing you, there's that thing that is hidden, that's subliminal, that will affect and eat at your heart every single day. And that's what racism has become. Just because I'm not walking down the street being called a nigger, even though someone has called us that today, and someone pointed a middle finger at us while we were marching, even though those things are not violent, They attack me just because of my skin color. And they're mad just because I want to change the system that they're comfortable with at my expense. Thank you, y'all.
All right, so we're going to end this in about 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and read off the rest of the responses from the QR code. And if you have something to say, this will be the final chance today. I heard a man outside of my apartment near downtown Kirkland blatantly yelling the N-word as he passed a black man. This happened 2 weeks ago. On multiple occasions, I have witnessed Caucasian people using racial slurs out loud and using it daily in their everyday life as just another word, not knowing the harm it's causing to others. Downtown Kirkland is a prime example of those things. Many white people think it's acceptable to go around and say the N-word and others such as the F-slur. No one does anything about it. Most just brush it off. I was on the bus, and a white man called me a racial slur. A homeless man told me to go back to my country. My friends were racially profiled as drug dealers. That's everything from the QR code. We're going to end in about 3 minutes, so if you want to share something, now is your chance.
Nice job, Sonia. I haven't even texted Parker yet. Well, I just sent mine. I think she's on the island, honestly. Island? Like one of those islands you can drive to, you know? Because like she's trying to find like beaches where there's nobody, you know? So you gotta drive. So she's probably like 2 hours away.
Damn.
And I'll be like, hey, can you come pick me up? She's like, yeah, sure, I'll be there in 8 hours.
All right, I know I've been up here a few times today, but I just have one more thing I want to say. Kind of going off what Gaia was talking about, this is your system. This right here, your everyday lives, that's your system. This system isn't meant for me and for my family and friends that don't look like me, that are even darker. The sad reality of America is that because I'm mixed, I have more privileges. Because the lighter my skin is, I have more privileges, and that's not okay. That should never be okay, because that puts who I love in danger every single day. This is what the system wants. The system wants you to go back to your everyday lives. They want to divide and conquer. That's exactly what they did to my people. What did they do to Malcolm X? What did they do to MLK? Notice how they aren't alive today. Because they had the characteristics that could bring people together. They knew what could bring a movement together that could stop everything, and the system got scared of that. They stopped them in their tracks because they were scared. They were scared of people united. The only reason they thrive is off of oppression. And your colonized education, your colonized curriculum might tell you that the people who built our country were so strong, that the oppressors were so strong. They weren't strong at all. They were feeding off of other people's labor. They were feeding off of my ancestors' strength. In reality, my ancestors are the ones that were the strongest. My great-great-grandma that was a slave 4 generations ago, not that long ago, was stronger than any white man who stepped on somebody to get where they got to.
Period.
That's your system. Your system wants to divide. Right now we are divided. The people who are just living their lives and the people who are still fighting. That's what they want. They use things like what's happening downtown and in Portland, the feds, to scare us. They use that to make us submit to them. But we need to lose that fear, and we need to come together. Because the only way that you can start looking towards hope and towards a future of equity and justice is if you lose the fear of the oppressor. No more division. We're going to stand together. No matter how many of us there is, we're going to stand together, and we will change it. Because we are the strongest. We have it running through our veins, and you can't stop us for much longer. That's all I want to say today. Thank you.
Woo! He says he's not a good speaker. Boy, you don't get the fuck out of here. Is that Asian guy over there?
hello? Okay. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to say what all of you are doing, organizing events like this, is so important. It's so important. I don't have to tell you that there's a lot of people out here trying to deny your experiences, telling you that racism doesn't exist in America, but you are so brave to come out here in spaces like this and share your experiences and confront them and tell them that racism is real in America. You guys are so brave, and what you're doing is so important. So, thank you. Thank you for coming out here and educating.
This one was married. Shit. Ew. It's like one of those bitches and pictures
I
that
was
hold up
actually
the
getting
fish
on
like.
my bike to leave, and I heard some words, and I think that was the young brother Xavier who was just up here speaking. And I wanted to share something with him as a mild point of reflection. And I think I heard him mention that his great-great-grandmother was a slave. And for all of those of us in here who are of African descent, multi-generational African Americans, I want you to think about that differently, right? Our ancestors, your great-great-grandmother wasn't a slave. She was a mother. She was a daughter.
Period.
She was a sister. She was a victim. She was enslaved. The condition was put upon her by people who were enslavers. Right? So we need to relieve ourselves of that label and that feeling of us as multi-generational African Americans, that we come from slaves, because we don't. We need to challenge others here who come from enslavers, because this issue of social injustice and equity in this country has to be borne by the descendants of the enslavers just as much as by the descendants of the enslaved. I just want to that's why I leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to everyone who came out today, sat down, and listened to us share our stories. Please, people of color, continue to share your stories, and our white allies here, please continue to ask and to listen and to be there for your friends, your family members, your community members, your neighbors that want to be heard. We will not be silent.
Yeah.
We are youth activists.
Yeah.
We are the next generation, and together we will change the world.
Woo!
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
Thank you, everybody.
Woo!
If you want more information on more ways you can help, please come up to this table, share your story, and we'll post it on our Instagram and social media.